The United States is expected to take more planned and preemptive measures in response to China's gray zone tactics in the Asia-Pacific region, according to analysts from the US and Australia. The assessment follows a call on Wednesday by U.S. Navy Chief Admiral John Richardson for tougher action against gray zone aggression from Russia and China, as a way to prevent maritime tensions from escalating into full-blown conflicts. A conceptual space between peace and war, gray zone tactics involve coercive actions below a threshold that could typically prompt a conventional military response. Admiral Richardson said President Trump should seek to enforce rules on China's Coast Guard and maritime militia fishing boats, two examples of gray zone non-military vessels with which the U.S. Navy may have close and unprofessional encounters. Lyle Morris, a senior policy analyst with Rand Corporation in Washington, said Richardson's remarks represented an important shift in thinking by the U.S., which, he argued, should be proactive rather than reactive in its approach to the gray zone challenge. Morris said one of the faults of the U.S. gray zone strategy thus far has been the fact that the U.S. and its allies have ceded initiative to Russia and China. Gray zone actions often blur the line between military and non-military platforms, actions and attribution for events, and are often, but not always, undertaken to assert territorial claims. The application is simple, Morris continued. There are basic rules of the road when it comes to navigation at sea and avoidance of accidents. And these basic rules should include all actors at sea, naval, government and civilian. China's aggressive territorial claims, and America's efforts to challenge them, have emerged at the center of their growing geopolitical rivalry in the region, even as Beijing and Washington seek to end a painful trade war before a March 1 deadline, when additional U.S. tariffs on Chinese imports are expected to be imposed if no agreement has been reached. As part of its efforts to reshape the region's security landscape, Beijing has significantly advanced its territorial claims over its smaller neighbors in Southeast Asia, intensifying flashpoints between China, the US and its Pacific allies. Beijing's gray zone tactics have included the deployment of non-military Coast Guard vessels and civil militia ships to significantly enlarge China's presence in the East and South China Seas. According to Morris, who has studied security development in these waters, this non-military presence could coerce other nations out of operating in the contested areas. Experts from the US and Australia agreed. In a report published on Friday by the University of Sydney and Pacific Forum, a Honolulu-based foreign policy research institute, they urged Washington to work more closely with its allies to push back on Beijing's gray zone coercion. Measures could include setting explicit red lines and joining capable allies like Australia, Japan and South Korea to strengthen conventional deterrence, the report said. A retired People's Liberation Army colonel, Gang, said China would continue its gray zone tactics in all dimensions in the face of challenges from the US. Avoiding armed conflict was a top priority for the policymakers in Beijing, he said. China's gray zone tactics still enjoy a geographical advantage against the US, said, while pointing out that the region was too far away for the US to conduct similar gray zone operations. And, as China's Coast Guard has been significantly expanding, it could hardly be challenged by other neighbors in the region, even though pressure from the US and its allies would be on the rise, he said.